So, you've heard of Zeus, right? Hera, Poseidon, the big names on Mount Olympus. But what if I told you they weren't the first ones in charge? Not by a long shot. Today, we're going to talk about the gods before the gods. We're talking about the Titans.
So let's just get right to it. Before Zeus, Hera, and Poseidon ever existed, who was running the show? I mean, who ruled the cosmos? There was this, older, more primordial generation of gods that had a grip on all of creation. So who were they?
Well, they were the OGs, the original rulers, a whole generation of gods born from the earth and the sky themselves. Yep, they were the Titans.
All right, to really get a handle on this, we've got to rewind. Way back. We're talking before Olympus was even a thing. Let's meet this first family of gods.
Okay, so the ancient poet Hesiod tells us there were 12 of them originally. And you can see here, it was a nice even split, 6 brothers and 6 sisters, the Titanesses. You had figures like Oceanus, Rhea, and the youngest brother, a guy you're going to want to remember, Cronus. They basically formed the first power couples of the entire universe.
But, this wasn't some peaceful transfer of power. Oh no, the reign of the Titans started with a pretty violent rebellion, a full-on coup, really. And it set a very dangerous precedent for all the gods who came after.
So the first king, Uranus, was not a great dad. To put it mildly, he was a total tyrant. He actually hated his own kids, and not just the Titans, but their siblings too. The monstrous Cyclopes and the 100-handers, and in this just horrifying move, he wouldn't even let them be born. He literally imprisoned them deep inside their own mother, Gaia. So as you can imagine, Gaia was in agony. She starts plotting her revenge. She makes this super strong sickle and begs her sons to help her out. But only one of them was ambitious or maybe crazy enough to do it. You guessed it, Cronus, the youngest. He lies in wait, ambushes his own father, and with one really brutal move, he overthrows him. Just like that, there's a new king in town.
But here's the thing about power you get through betrayal. It's never really secure, is it? His own parents hit him with this chilling prophecy. Hey, just like you overthrew your dad, one of your kids is going to do the exact same thing to you. The whole cycle was basically set to repeat.
So what does Cronus do? He decides he's going to cheat fate. Every time his wife, who's also his sister, Rhea, gave birth, he did something just monstrous. He swallowed each baby whole. Hestia, Demeter, Hera, Hades, Poseidon. Yep, the first 5 Olympians all trapped inside their own father. Unbelievable.
But come on, you can't cheat prophecy forever, right? This absolutely horrific act just set the stage for the biggest, baddest showdown the cosmos had ever seen, the Titanomachy, the Great War of the Gods.
And listen, this wasn't some quick fight. Not at all. The Titanomachy was a brutal, all-out war that tore across the entire universe for 10 solid years.
So, the battle lines were drawn. On one side, you have the old guard, the established order, the Titans, led by King Cronus, fighting from their mountain fortress, Mount Othrys. And on the other side, the new generation, the Olympians, led by the one kid Cronus didn't manage to swallow, Zeus, commanding his army from their base on Mount Olympus.
So, how did the tide finally turn? Well, it started with Rhea. Desperate to save just one of her children, she hid baby Zeus on the island of Crete. She tricked Cronus into swallowing a rock instead. Smart, right? So once Zeus grew up, he came back and forced his dad to throw up his brothers and sisters. But the real game changer? That was when Zeus freed his monstrous uncles from Tartarus. The Cyclopes made him his legendary thunderbolts, and the 100-handers jumped into the fight. With these new weapons and some seriously terrifying allies, the Olympians finally won.
A victory for the Olympians meant the whole cosmic order got a complete makeover. Zeus was the new king. So, what happens to the losers? What was going to happen to his defeated father and all his aunts and uncles?
Well, for most of them, the answer was pretty grim. They were kicked out of the upper world and thrown down into Tartarus. And Tartarus wasn't just any prison. We're talking the deepest, darkest pit in the entire underworld, a cosmic jail with no chance of parole.
This punishment was really for the ringleaders, the main titans who fought against Zeus. Cronus, the old king, and his brother Iapetus, locked away. Minoasius got zapped with a thunderbolt for being too proud. And then there's Atlas. He got a special, eternal punishment.
He was condemned to hold up the entire sky on his shoulders, forever.
But wait, here's where it gets really interesting. Not all the Titans were punished. In a pretty smart political move, Zeus actually let some of them stay free.
So, who got a pass? Well, for starters, Oceanus, the Great World River. He'd cleverly stayed neutral during the war. Smart guy. The female Titans, the Titanesses, including Zeus's own mom, Rhea, they were all spared too. And then you have some who were just too important to lock up, like Helios, the sun god. I mean, you can't just get rid of the sun, right? It shows that Zeus's new order wasn't just about raw power. It was also about being practical.
So even though they were defeated, and most of them were locked away, the Titans were never really gone. Their story, their influence, it kept going. It lived on in myths and philosophy, and believe it or not, even in the stars themselves. You know, this whole Greek myth about a son overthrowing his father, it actually has really deep roots in even older stories from the Hittites and Babylonians. And it gets weirder. In a later mystical tradition called Orphism, the Titans play this shocking role. In that version of the story, they tear the god Dionysus to pieces. Zeus, furious, blasts them with a thunderbolt. And get this, from their smoldering ashes, humanity was born, which would make all of us part divine and part rebellious Titan. How wild is that?
But maybe their most obvious legacy, the one you can still see today, is literally written in the stars. The planet Saturn, that's just a Roman name for Cronus. Its biggest moon is named Titan, of course, and a whole bunch of its other moons, Rhea, Iapetus, Hyperion, they all carry the names of these defeated gods. So they might have lost the war for the cosmos, but in a way, they ended up conquering our night sky.
So, the Titan story is all about rebellion and defeat, right? It's about an old guard being replaced by a new one. And yet, their names are everywhere. In our solar system, they're immortalized up there. Which leaves us with a final question to chew on. What does it really mean when the losers of a war are never, ever forgotten?